Hello there. How are you today?
I am very good. It's midday here in Oslo. Where are you?
I am in Chicago, although I would prefer to be in Oslo.
Well, Chicago doesn't sound that bad either.
It's true. Both great places. Congratulations on this. What a shocker of a twist for the final episode, which you directed. So congratulations all around. I thought it was an extremely riveting series and an interesting is not the right word, but kind of a compelling twist and take from the original source material. So, so walk us through it. There you are directing. I found the scenes with Jake Gyllenhaal, Ruth Negga, and Chase Infinity so profoundly is so profound, in those last scenes in episode 8. So can you walk us through what it was like, directing Jake and the others in those scenes?
Um, well, first of all, I think none of them knew for certain who the killer was until right before we shot the 8th episode. So that was the first shock. Jaden, who's played by Chase Infinity, this was her first job ever in front of the screen. So she has had kind of a long journey, both kind of being part of this family, being part of these other actors, a huge learning curve, and she's amazing. So when she also kind of found out that she also was the killer, we kind of tracked that backwards. Um, and I think for Jake, it was the end of a long journey of playing quite a lot of different things throughout, which we kind of focused on throughout. He was going to be a modern man. I wanted to see a lot of vulnerability. I wanted to see him crying. I wanted to see him hurt. I wanted to see him angry with all this kind of aggression. I want to see him as a loving family father. I want to see him as a husband, all of those kind of things. And the same thing with Ruth. So I guess throughout the season, which I kind of set up in the first 2 episodes, and through kind of all the different theories and different directions that they had to go, it was the final episode. Somehow it became about concluding all of that and bringing all of that weight and all of that kind of complexity into each role. I think everyone was really nervous because I think Jake was really nervous. Last episodes are scary. There's a lot of expectations that we kind of build it in the right way, that we built his arc in the right way. So that was there, and we did it, or I directed it in the same way that I did in the beginning, that we were doing it different outcomes and different kind of tones the whole time, so that a lot of things are kind of organized also in the edits to give the enough of the richness of his character, and also for the audience that kind of insecurity of did he do it or did he not, or why is he acting this way, or why is he acting that way. I remember the day we did his closing arguments, and that was, it felt like he was taking the weight of the whole production in that speech. I remember he did it in, I knew we had kind of only 2 takes doing it completely through, that I had close-ups, and I planned that really well, that we, or not really well, but I planned it very, very carefully, that we would do 2 close-ups, one handheld, one on a steady cam, and I knew that's where I would get the best acting from Jake. But it was nervous, and after the first take, I cried and just walked out. Because it was so amazing, and people were just quiet. It was like and he did one more, and I cried again. So it was just kind of emotional for everyone and for Jake as well. He was it's a big burden to kind of keep his character and keep the story throughout all those episodes.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like this is a Jake Gyllenhaal we haven't really seen before. There's something about how much the dial is cranked up, the heat is turned up, and there's just everything's at stake for this character, and you really see it in him. It's an award worthy nomination or performance, I think, which is a testament to you and Greg, the other director. What was Jake Gyllenhaal's response when he found out who the killer was?
He felt it made sense. He felt it made sense, and he was, I don't know if he was relieved or what he was, but he felt the story made sense, and he felt what he'd been acting made sense, and he felt that that was an interesting, it was kind of a new detail within it, and we had also kind of put in kind of extra scenes throughout the season that kind of strengthened that, but in small, very small portions that we can kind of regulate later. And he's also an EP on this, an executive producer on this, same as me and our group. So it was kind of a constant discussion.
Right.
And he was very much on board.
There's already buzz about season 2 and if that were to happen and how that would be perhaps different. So in your dream scenario, should there, all that kind of move forward as smoothly or whatever, and you had your way and you were a part of it, what would you like to see unfold in a season 2 iteration?
I think I think seeing a new case, seeing some of the same actors in it, seeing more of that confusion and that nail biting kind of end of each episode. I think that's a great thing to kind of give the audience, and it's fun to direct and it's fun to be part of, and I think it's interesting. It's trying to kind of put both the kind of human emotions, which was so much what we did in this show. The core of the show is actually the family and all those emotions. So each character kind of had their own story and their own secrets, and I think that's interesting to kind of keep doing in the next season.
I'm fascinated. I want it like very soon. You have done great work elsewhere as well. You received a lot of great attention for directing, I believe, the 2018 finale of Black Mirror with Miley Cyrus. So can you briefly talk about what it was like working with Miss Cyrus and that experience for you?
Miley Cyrus, working with her was amazing. She's just a genuine, very lovely, very warm-hearted, brilliant person. And I think I thought she did an amazing job in that, and we became very close through that production. So no, she's someone who's always fascinated me, and she's someone that I wish everything well in her life. I think she's an amazing person.
Beautiful. I'm excited to know more about White Knight, which I believe is based on the memoir Seductive Poison. So can you give us an update on that? I know Jake Gyllenhaal is attached to it as well. So yes, fill us in.
So that's we're still developing the scripts, and it is a very fascinating story. Seeing how Jim Jones managed to lead so many people into their to suicide, which is one of the most horrific stories in American history. And at the same time, his political views of that time were quite modern. He promoted equal rights for everyone. He was kind of a socialist in the US in a very early era. But then, as a lot of kind of cult leaders, it all went wrong, and then yeah. So I think kind of that those dynamics, both kind of US politics at that time and where it led everyone, is something that needs to be both shot and showed to the audience of America.
Sounds very compelling. Well, one last question for you. How do you feel being attached to Presumed Innocent in the way that you were as executive producer and director has stretched you? What have you learned, or how has that experience allowed you to grow in some way?
It's been a learning coming into a huge kind of American production, bring my Norwegian DP. Felt like we were this small Norwegian clan in a very kind of American family story and courtroom story. Oslo meets Hollywood in some way. And to me, what I kind of learned most about was kind of all the different all the different levels within the production, all the different people, it's quite different in that sense. Also, I learned so much about the American legal system, which is quite different from Norway. It's way more about what a jury and how people perceive people who witness the people in court than it is in my country. And my country is probably a bit more about the evidence. I wouldn't say it's dramatically different, but it was just kind of, it's interesting. And it was also interesting going to doing some of the research for this. I went to LA courts. I've only seen American courts on TV, and I had a picture in my head of what that was. And it was a mix of something extremely normal. You had high-end cases right next door to people who were standing without shoes on and doing. So it was just kind of, it was just fascinating seeing how that system works in this way and how our system works in a very different way.
Right.
Yeah.
Evidence is good.
Evidence is really good.
It's a good thing.
I learned a lot about how people lie, like because through these characters, and how evidence then doesn't necessarily mean anything, because it's about how you present your case a bit more.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's great to connect with you, and congratulations on the series.
Thank you so much.